Hello everybody and welcome back to the fourth episode of the Game Vault podcast with myself, Harry Frazer, also at Harry Frazzle on Twitter, and we've got my co-host Matthew Lewins here, at Matthew Lewins also on Twitter. How you doing today, Matt?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a good day so far. Bloody lovely in England. The weather is beautiful outside and we've decided to spend it inside recording the podcast.
Nowhere better to be.
Exactly. And this is the first podcast where me and Matt are actually in the same room recording the podcast. We've been doing it over Discord. You can also find my Discord server link in the description below. As well as my website, harrysgamevault.wordpress.com. And we've got a bit of an announcement to start off with. For a couple weeks we are going on hiatus. Me and Matt are going on holiday together. We're going to have a nice time. We're going to get absolutely blasted as well. So yeah, no podcast for the next 2 weeks while we are out in Italy. But we've got a kind of a special episode, kind of a bit more of a throwback episode, would you say, today, Matt? Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about mine and Matt's favourite games from years gone by. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, Matt, is what have been your gaming experiences over years? What was like your first console and that?
So I was a little bit later to consoles than I know you were and that a lot of people were. So my first console was the PS2. Then, honestly, I didn't stick with the PlayStation because my next console was Xbox 360, which I stayed with for a while. Then jumped over back to the PS3 and then went to PS4, which I still have obviously now. But I know that you had a few more consoles than I did.
Right, well, let's start back from the age of about 3 or 4 here. When my parents introduced me to video games, I had a Sega Mega Drive. That was one of my first systems that I had. And I used to play the old classic. I think I had Sonic, one of the original Sonic games on that. They were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And had that games, was it Ghouls and Ghosts or something like that, I think it was called. Something like that. Great game. Absolute classic. Very hard to beat from what I can remember.
Or you were just bad.
I mean, let's just remember I was 4 at the time. And then my next console up from that was, starting off slow. I had a Nintendo 64. Wow, that really is old cartridges and stuff like that. So I had
the cartridges.
Yeah, damn. Who doesn't? I miss cartridges. I'll tell you what, I do miss cartridges.
Well, I never had them.
Exactly, because you're late to the party.
Except for my Game Boy.
So I had Super Mario 64. That was like a game you couldn't miss. I also had like the old Mario Party 64 games on there.
Oh yeah.
Yoshi's Island as well. God, that was a game. I think those were like the 3 main games I played. I don't think I had many others because obviously at my age I was quite young. I need to be introduced to video games quite early on. And to be quite honest, if I went back to it now, if I had a Nintendo 64 now, I'd do a lot better. And I'll have a lot more games. But, very expensive nowadays. I think like some of the games are going for £100 plus. But moving on from that, I had a PlayStation 1. Definitely had some good classic games on there, which we will come on to in our game section. And then basically I've gone from there with the PS2, PS3, and I now do have a PS4. But I've kind of defected over to Microsoft's Xbox for a little while. I had an Xbox 360 while I had a PS3, and I quite neglected my PS3 actually at the time. And I also I had a Nintendo Wii. Oh my god, my consoles are mad actually. I've had a lot. Let's not get started on the handhelds. I mean, I've had PSPs and Game Boys. Oh my days. Yeah, we're going way too far. But like, basically, I've had so many consoles. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've probably spent my parents have probably spent well over £2,000 probably on my. It's not an addiction. Gaming addiction is a thing, but I do not have that.
I don't have a problem. I can stop any time.
Alright, mister. I was on Overwatch at 3 AM last night. Streaming. You can catch a stream, by the way. Twitch.tv/hypnos_97. Good plug there.
Subtle plug.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really have a Twitch channel that I do post much on at the moment. I just use it for watching, but whatever. We're going to move on. So, Matt. Let's start with mine. We're gonna start off quite early because This is going to be mainly PlayStation orientated, I would say.
Yeah.
Our favourite games, because at the time we were probably pushing 7 through to however old we are, and that's what makes it more memorable for us. That we've got a bit more of a grasp of gaming at that age, and that we can go a bit more further on with it. So I'm going to start with my PS1, and there were 2 favourite games I had on that. Was the original Crash Bandicoot and Rayman. So let's start with Crash Bandicoot. Matt, I think you've played a bit of Crash before, or know a bit about it.
I know about Crash Bandicoot. I've seen gameplay of it. I just haven't played it.
If you didn't know, it's a 3D platforming game. Quite difficult from what I remember as a child, but I now have the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy on the PlayStation 4, and some of it, as hard as I remember, in fact even harder. But that game was fantastic. You play as the little orange marsupial. You're running around levels collecting Wumpa fruit. Every 100 you get extra lives. It's basically your bog standard platformer, which is kind of there to rival Nintendo's Mario, as what I thought as well at the case. I remember seeing on YouTube the old commercials that Sony used to run, with Crash outside of the Nintendo headquarters, kind of egging them on and stuff like that. It was quite funny at the time. I don't know if you saw them, Matt, but do you remember anything really about Crash Bandicoot?
Well, I'd say the one thing I remember about Crash Bandicoot, and actually in older games in general, is the difficulty spikes are much bigger than they are today. And part of that is that, that there is obviously no online features in older games, so the replayability comes from the difficulty and overcoming that in a single player aspect. So, that's the one thing that I've taken away from Crash and from older games.
Yeah, exactly.
PS1 and obviously Nintendo 64 eras.
It was also quite revolutionary at the time with the amount of polygons and stuff that they could have. Everyone was all about polygons and that, but no one really knew what that meant and stuff like that. It was we had the 8-bit generation, the 16-bit generation. I think as well. I think Sega released an expansion to one of their consoles, the Sega 32X, which was supposed to put games up to 32 megabits, and then we've gone up to the 3D models we're now. But now it's with graphics wise, it's just it needs to be so realistic and that,
Yeah, you don't think of it, but Crash was a revolutionary concept for graphics.
Exactly, it was probably one of the first 3D platformers, I would have thought.
Yeah, one of the first properly 3D.
Yeah, exactly, and they did it exceptionally well. Naughty Dog did an exceptional job with it, and that's not the first time that Naughty Dog are going to crop up in this list that I have. And then the second game I've got was Rayman. Again, Matt, I don't know if you're again aware of Rayman, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm aware of Rayman again. Didn't play it, but I know of it.
It's become more of a timeless classic. It was a 2D platformer with 3D elements to it. You could tell, but there was bits about it where it was you're platforming about. It's you didn't know whether you could jump on that or you just go right through it. It was a really fun game though. And Rayman had a more cartoony look than what he had or what he has now. Yes, we have Rayman Legends now, which is, I would say, I didn't really like that game, or I didn't even play it because of it. I had Rayman 3, where he got more of a serious tone. He got more of a serious tone to it. But it wasn't as good. I didn't think it was as good as the first Rayman. I love that game. I can't really say much more. I would say it was on the PlayStation. I remember I got it again on the PlayStation 3 because you get old PS1 games through the PlayStation Store, and I paid £8 for it, and I was like, this is amazing. It's taking me back to when I was about 6-7 years old when I used to play these games. So it was really good, and I would definitely love to play again. I might actually pull out my old PS3 again and see what I can do.
I always think it's a mistake when older games try and go super realistic, and I remember when Spyro they made him into a super serious, and also Bomberman when they made him into an edgy sort of teenager.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I saw that. Yo, they should have done that with Bomberman. Just leave him how he is.
That was a little bit embarrassing.
Exactly. But what are they going to do next? Kirby? Turn Kirby super serious. Is he gonna get tattoos now? Oh. Kirby with tattoos. Can you imagine it? Absolutely not. But yeah, that's kind of it for PS1. Matt didn't have a PS1.
Nope.
Rip. You wish you did. You
Yeah.
should have. I mean, I remember as well having my old PS1. No joysticks.
Nope.
No joysticks. There was just them directional pads. Oh wow, I'm really showing my age, even though I'm 20. But let's move on to the PS2. Something that me and Matt can definitely agree on. So, Matt, what's your game?
Finally, a console that I can actually talk about. As I said, I got into consoles quite later than you definitely, and I even got quite late really into PS2 era. So the one game that I think of when I think of the PS2, the one game I think of is Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one.
That's a game that I can also relate to,
yeah.
definitely.
Let's just say it's the better Battlefront 2.
It is the best Battlefront out of all the four that have been released. Battlefront 2 on the original PS2 was the best.
Yeah, so good. In fact, I even tried to get it on my PSP, which was a mistake. Trying to play a third-person shooter with one joystick and two bumpers, not a fun experience. But yeah, I mean, when you think of Battlefront 2, it was just such a good game. When you think of Galactic Conquest, was just a perfect mode for it.
You know what? When I think of Battlefront 2 on the PS2, I think straight away my mind goes to space battles.
Yeah.
Space battles straight away, where you've got two hangars, basically. You get in a ship, you fly over to the other ship, and you take out basically all of their equipment, all the, I think the shield array was one. You can go in the ship, you can take out anything. Well, it's like the engine, coolants, and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. As well, it was over so many eras as well. Well, it was over the two eras.
The two eras available.
Which was the two
Clone
eras
Wars and Galactic Empire.
That's it. Thank you for that, Matt. This is why you're here.
But yeah, I mean, in concept, it is a very simplistic game. When you think about it. I mean, even when we're talking about space battles, you've got two ships with frigates you can't go into, and you just hit them until you win. But it was done so well, and the gameplay is so clean that you don't need any more real depth to it. So, I mean, the closest thing to a story mode in Battlefront 2 was the 501st missions.
Yeah, it had more. It was definitely a lot more than what they had in the original Battlefront. It did have actually a campaign to it, sort of, but it was basically the big multiplayer maps, and you would just
get very specific missions in those maps.
Well, no, it was just more you'd go onto these multiplayer maps, and you just basically play out a match against the AI, and just to take control of the planet, and that's all that would be. Whereas, definitely now with with what happened with Battlefront 2, it was you had a bit more specifics and heroes. I mean, heroes were introduced. In the original Battlefront, they were present, but you couldn't play as them. They were like AI.
Yeah.
I think Darth Vader was definitely one, and I don't know whether it was Luke Skywalker or whatever was in the first one. I definitely know Darth Vader was though. But there were so many heroes you could play as in Battlefront 2, and they even had their own mode.
Yeah, in Mos Eisley, the heroes versus villains mode.
I spent a lot of time on that mode.
That was a lot of fun, that mode.
It was, considering that online play on PS2 was a thing, but it was I remember it being very hard for myself to get online and play with others.
I didn't use the online at all on PS2.
No, I didn't either, really. I think what I mainly did is go around yours and play it anyway. I mean, that's especially in a generation where we had again the PS3 and the Xbox 360, because I've known Matt from high school, so we've kind of grown up and known each other a bit more about games, and we used to go around each other's and we'd just play video games and all the classics and that. I think you had your PS2 set up in your room.
Yep.
Fantastic times, good times. So yeah, I think that's really it on Battlefront 2. It was just a fantastic game. I would say one of the best games ever for both of us, maybe. I just remember it being so memorable for the space battles and everything you could do on it, and the eras. I just wish they replicated that for the the new systems, the new current generation.
Mm.
We'll have to see what happens in the future, but I don't think we're going to get anything like that again. I miss you remember the Battlefront 3 actually got cancelled.
I remember seeing some of the cutscenes that were very close to being finished, and yeah.
The game was 99% done.
Yep.
They said the game was 99% done. It just had to go through QA testing.
Mm.
That's all it needed, and then it would have been released. But
which was a shame because it looked like a very good game.
Exactly, because you transitioned from ground fight to space battles. Like, how sick would that have been? I think that was.
Which I think I saw there is a mod for Star Wars Battlefront 2 out there which has that.
Is there?
Someone has made a mod where you can have ground to space combat in Battlefront 2.
Well, that is fantastic, and
someone's put a lot of hours into modding.
Exactly.
To get that done.
Well, they should just already be employed by EA. I mean, that would just make them a lot more money.
Someone employ that person.
Yeah, exactly. If not, they can come on the podcast if they'd like to discuss that. Discuss how long it took them to mod it. We're always looking for guests. So, we're going to go on my PS2 game now.
Yeah.
I got one. It's called Sly 2 Band of Thieves. It's the second in the Sly Cooper series. In the UK, the game, there were four of them. There was Sly Raccoon, Sly 2 Band of Thieves, Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves, and Sly for Thieves in Time. It was not released on the PS3, but I'm getting off topic. So, Sly 2, for me, was fantastic because it was more of an open world sort of thing. You'd be dropped in a map or in whatever part of the country. You're just looking for parts of Clockwork, which was the main villain in the first game. He got destroyed, and then someone's took all the parts and tried to put them back together to bring him back. So you're dropped into different countries. One I remember is Venice, Italy. You're dropped in, and it's just a big open world where you're going around doing missions to pull off a big heist at the end of it to get the Clockwork parts back. And I remember it for its ingenious mechanics of that game. I like the use of stealth. Stealth games are actually one of my favourite sort of games. So you're sneaking around, you're pickpocketing guards, you're silently taking them out. It's more in a cartoony style though. You know, more wacky in that than, you're going up behind someone with a gun, you blast them in the head and that's it, they're done and that. No, this was definitely just a lot more cartoony. It's a game I can appreciate as well, for the artistic style of it, and I think a lot of people loved that series. I don't know, Matt, what are your thoughts on Sly? Did you ever touch it or ever come into contact, or can you just not?
Again, I reckon Sly would have been a bit too early in the in my PS2 career for me.
Yeah, I think that come 2004, 2005. I think that was around the time it come out.
Yeah, I think I got my PS2 in 2005, but I wasn't aware. I was because obviously I hadn't had a console before that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of the established names or the upcoming games. I was just like, well, that's like a good game. I like Star Wars.
Yeah, I like the Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was going to say as well, it was completely different from the first game as well. Sly Raccoon had a health, well, I say health system. It was like a free hit system, and then you're dead basically.
Yeah.
So you collected like these lucky horseshoes, and you put them in your backpack. You took a hit, you lose one. You took another, you lose another, and then you take a final hit, and then you're dead.
Right.
In Sly 2, it had a health system, so you got hit, you lose a bit of health, and then towards you got until you got to 0 and then you died. Mm-hmm. Which is, for something that I'd have grown up with, it was something completely new. It was actually the first sort of game where that was actually introduced to me. I never really had anything like that. I didn't even play many fighting games in that. I think I got Virtua Fighter, one of the later ones. I think it was Virtua Fighter 4. I got that quite late on after. So I definitely didn't grow up with the likes of Tekken and that.
Right.
But yeah, that game, I just can't say it. It's just, again, fantastic. It's worth a play, and it will come out again on the Sly Trilogy. That's what it's called over here in the UK. In America, it's called the Sly Collection, which has all 3 games, all remastered. And like I said, on the PS3 as well, they made a new one, not by Sucker Punch though, who make the Infamous series, because they started making the Infamous series and realised, yeah, it's getting a bit too much now for us to have this series and that one. So they wanted to focus on Infamous. They wanted to be a bit more serious. So they, I'd say, handed over the Sly franchise to Sanzaru Games.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually did a good job with the 4th one, because they also helped remaster the first 3. But yeah, that's all on that one. That's all I'm going to say. Right. Let's take a little slight diversion here. Let's go to Xbox. Xbox
Yes.
360. Matt, what was your game?
Well, it's a little bit of a cheat because it was on the original Xbox, but I played it on the Xbox 360, so it counts. And again, it's going to make me look like a massive Star Wars nerd, but it was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR. That game is probably in my top 3 games of all time. It is an amazing game. Basically, it's a Star Wars RPG. That's all you need to know. Star Wars RPG that even... So I played the original on Xbox 360 and I played the second one on PC. Both games were good. I preferred the first to the second one purely because of the story issues with the second one, because it was forced out after I think 8 months of development to try and tie in with Revenge of the Sith when that came out. So it was like the ending was missing. There were planets that weren't used. There were problems with that, and it was still a brilliant game. But yeah, I mean, like I said, KOTOR is a Star Wars RPG where basically you're given a character with seemingly who has no memory of anything, so you're a bit of a dunce at the start, just a bit. But it sets thousands of years before any of the movies take place, during a war between the Republic and the Sith Empire. So you're up against Darth Malak, who has a jaw. At some point in his life, he's had a jaw. If you've played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about, because it's absolutely disgusting. Even on original Xbox graphics, it's disgusting to see. But yeah, and then it's like you have a Star Wars film that you're playing, and it's got a better story than a lot of Star Wars films out there. I'll say that right. It's got a better story than any of the prequels.
Oh, that's a shot.
That is a shot
at
the
George
prequels.
Lucas, and
I enjoyed some of the prequels. But this game has a better story than them.
You should go follow the reddit.com prequel memes. There's so much on there. Taking them wet out of all the prequels.
But yeah, I mean, any game where you get to be a Jedi is a plus. It's a big thumbs up from me, and it's a game that obviously it doesn't have a multiplayer, but obviously it did spawn SWTOR, which is still going to this day, which is fairly impressive, including the fact that it's getting DLC to this day.
What year was that released? Do you know?
What SWTOR was released?
Yes.
It was fairly soon after that, because it's running on the old extended universe. So basically, what I find funny about SWTOR right now is because they're not running on the Disney universe, they're just doing whatever they want with the story. They're just going, yeah, why not? We'll create these random aliens. No one's paying attention from Disney.
Isn't it because basically, essentially, what it will be is part of the Star Wars Legends canon instead of what Disney.
It's in Legends right now, but it's ongoing, so they're just throwing whatever they want at the wall.
Yeah. I never really played Knights of the Old Republic. I think it was a game that just didn't interest me. I don't think many RPGs really interest me.
No, yeah, it did have. I'd say it had. It was a light RPG by RPG standards. So you had dialogue trees, you had romance options, you had, I guess, stat boosts for armor and stuff. But it was very simplistic, and I remember there being a party system. So it would be you and 2 others from your party. But no one actually built their party. They just put 2 other Jedis in. It wasn't like, let's see, I'll have 1 Jedi, I'll have 1 range. No, you have 3 Jedi, and you go and just melt everyone you see. So it was a very light RPG.
Yeah, like I said, I think if I had that game, I'd be a lot more into RPGs now
Yeah,
than before.
it is a very good introduction to RPGs. I'd say that.
I mean, Matt, I don't think you put any RPGs on your list, but are there any like, RPG games that spawned from playing Knights of the Old Republic for yourself?
There were a couple of RPGs. Again, I never really got into the deep in like the properly deep RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
But I do enjoy RPG elements in games. So, for instance, and I think this is another game I played on Xbox 360, which was the Tales of Vesperia series. So if anyone knows the Tales series, they'll know what I'm talking about when I say it has it is pretty much a JRPG, Japanese RPG. And it's one of the best JRPGs that you can find ported to English. And again, it's very similar to KOTOR in that the RPG elements within that are quite limited. So you'll have sort of potions which will give you stat boosts, you'll have clothes which give you stat boosts and different weapons. But there's no sort of big branching skill trees that you're going to have to master. There's no massively difficult combos that you really need to learn or you're going to die instantly when you find a boss battle. Like, I do enjoy some light RPGs, but I don't think I'd ever really enjoy a massive RPG like that where you have to sink a lot of hours in just to get basic mechanics down.
No, I get you. So the likes of Final Fantasy, maybe Kingdom Hearts didn't really...
No, they never really interested me that much.
Again, I said neither me, so I've mainly kept to what I know, at least. Excuse me. Okay, right. I don't really have any Xbox 360 games.
Mm.
Instead, I have PS3. I'm going to move on now.
Yep.
Sorry, just take a drink. So, mine are actually all basically story related. Because I've got a number here, which I just couldn't say that this was my favourite on this console because I had so many.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the PS3 was one of my favourite consoles, but at the end we'll discuss that. So on PS3, I would say Uncharted 2, Honor Among Thieves, was my favourite story game on the system. Matt, I know you've, again, aware of the Uncharted series. Yeah. It's a massive staple. You had Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception.
I had Uncharted 4.
You have that one as well. That's a great game as well. That's the final one, basically.
Yes, final of the series.
You say final, and then they added the DLC there.
Yeah, I'm not counting that as an extra game. Even though it kind of is, but
it kind of is. Yeah, I didn't play.
It's like a half game.
But I was more introduced I was introduced to Uncharted 2 when I picked it up in my local game store.
Mm.
It was on offer. I got it as a pre-owned, and I think it was like you get 3 games for 30 quid. I think that's what it was.
I remember those deals.
I love those deals. I think I picked it up around Christmas time as well. So the whole store was packed with people just getting games, getting all the new games, spending all their Christmas money. So I went in and I found Uncharted 2 Honor Among Thieves, and I thought I'll give this a go. I actually hadn't played the first Uncharted, and to this day I still haven't, even though I own the Nathan Drake collection on my PS4. So I really should go back and play that one. But Uncharted 2 was my first proper experience of what Naughty Dog can do. So I've gone from knowing Naughty Dog from doing the Crash Bandicoot series, just a simple 3D platform game, to this overreaching, great story, amazing visuals, and good gameplay as well. I think that was what really caught my eye, the great gameplay mechanics of it. Like, you could just jump at anything, you'd hang on, and you'd be scaling walls, climbing up buildings. You're basically just like a human Spider-Man. It was Nathan Drake, I think he did gymnastics in his youth.
I mean, Uncharted is basically just Indiana Jones, the video game.
Oh, essentially.
And done very well.
I'd say done better. Actually, yeah, I'm going to say it. Done better than Indiana Jones. Even though because it's a game you can play, and Indiana Jones, great movies, but I would much prefer to go through the Uncharted as a movie. In fact, I'd like to see them make an Uncharted film. I thought there was also a rumour that might have been a thing.
I'm just going to say I don't want an Uncharted movie, so I don't want it ruined by a terrible movie.
I mean, yeah, it's like a video game adaptation or video game movie adaptations are not so great, I think we'll go as far as saying I think Alicia Vikander's Tomb Raider, the latest video game,
That's been the best video game movie
hands down.
ever.
Hands down. Like, it wasn't a hard thing to beat,
No.
but it was definitely fantastic. Well, I think it was fantastic. I saw it twice. Yeah, Naughty Dog, fantastic studios.
Yeah.
I can't say any more than that. We're gonna move on. I've got another 3 games here from the PS3, but I'm gonna kind of tie these two together. We've got GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption. The reason I'll do that, both Rockstar games.
Right.
Rockstar, the best games developer ever out there. Better than any other. You might argue with me on that.
Yeah, I mean, from Rockstar, the only games that I've ever had from Rockstar are Red Dead Redemption, and GTA 5, which I didn't really. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a great game for me. It was just okay for me. Even though I know like how impressive it is, it wasn't really my sort of game. But yeah, I mean, I acknowledge they are a very good studio.
Fantastic. GTA 4 was my first experience of a Grand Theft Auto game. And, well, I know that episode... no, not Liberty City. It was Vice City was out. San Andreas was out. Everyone loves San Andreas. I never had it, and I still don't have it, and never touched it even. The friends that I used to go around never had it for some reason. They just didn't want to play it. So I know a lot of people think of GTA San Andreas as the classic, but for me, GTA 4 is the classic Grand Theft Auto game for me. GTA 5, fantastic, own it. So, you play as Nico Bellic, kind of a Middle Eastern guy living in Liberty City. It's basically a recreation of New York. I would go as far as saying it, or it feels a lot like New York. Whereas you're used to GTA 5 with Los Santos basically feeling like Los Angeles, So, you play as just one character in GTA 4, and GTA 5 it was free. But it was so memorable for me because the possibilities in that game for me were just endless. You could do so much. It had DLC as well. Well, I say DLC. I had a separate game. It was called Grand Theft Auto Episodes from Liberty City with 2 different stories.
Yeah.
So it was the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and Damned. So you followed... The Lost and Damned was about a biker gang. The Ballad of Gay Tony was about... it was actually about a guy called Tony. It was a long time ago since I played that again. Damn, I need to pull out the old PS3 again. This is mental. So, I really enjoyed GTA 4 for how it developed his character, Nico, over time. You didn't really know anything about it, but then you kind of fell. I liked him a bit. I really liked Nico, and in fact, he actually still crops up from time to time. I think in GTA 5, there's references to him about a guy out in Liberty City. I think one of the characters says a guy out in Liberty City, a Middle Eastern guy that you come to know, and it's actually Nico, so it's pretty cool. Maybe they'll return to Nico Bellic in the future. Maybe. So that's kind of my memory. It was just really fun. So many possibilities out there to do. And then Red Dead Redemption. Matt, you can definitely jump in on me on this. The story of John Marston. Tragic story in the end, but...
No spoilers.
No spoilers here, but I would just say that's it.
So yeah, if there's one game that you want to go back and play, it's Red Dead Redemption. Because that is a combination of tight mechanics, obviously you've got basically Deadeye, Nap, which is great to use. You got the Undead Nightmare with that, which was a great addition.
What a great DLC that was. That's actually one of the first DLCs I ever bought properly, and that's been my absolute favourite because it had so much content to it.
Yep, and then obviously you've got a great open world. Now, one of the best early open worlds, I'd say.
Because you're going from the USA and you can cross over to Mexico.
Yeah. You go basically from... Well, I assume that they're basing it around Texas. especially if it's going towards Mexico.
I believe so. I believe that's where they're trying. That's
You-
what they're trying to.
You've got built-up
Gotcha.
towns, you've got wide ranches, you've got
Mhm.
obviously, then you go over to Mexico, and then the music, by the way, going over from USA to Mexico.
Oh, the music in that
instant
game.
classic.
Oh, the music in that game was absolutely brilliant. I could. This is a very nostalgic episode for myself. This is why I'm kind of like a bit stargazed at this, because it's just like I'm thinking back to myself, thinking of younger me going, "Oh wow, I really remember that. Or I love playing that. Or I remember doing this," and that's why I've said I need to pull out the old PS3 and get it going again. What was it about Red Dead Redemption that I also liked? Did you have a favourite area? Did you have a favourite area?
A favourite area in Red Dead. I'd probably say that my favourite area was around the ranch where basically you start off the game.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say that was my favourite area, purely because you got those wide open areas, and it's just I just had so much fun just going around on your horse in those areas.
My favourite areas, I've got two.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll put my number 2 as Armadillo, the town, the main town sort of place. Or would that be Blackwater? No, it was definitely Armadillo. I didn't really like. I know Blackwater was basically the biggest city in that, and you had a lot there. But I just loved Armadillo for, proper. It felt like a proper western. You're walking through the saloon doors. It's just like the atmosphere in there, and everything you could do around the town as well.
Get drunk,
especially, yes. What I used to do is that it was actually cheat codes as well you could input in the games. It was one of the last games that I remember you could input cheat codes into. But you could get this suit called the Bureau suit, I think it was, and you could just wear that suit, no police will come after you at all. It was fantastic. You kill anybody you like, the police will have no problem with you whatsoever. The ragdoll in that game was amazing. They do so many stupid things, it's unbelievable. You shoot someone in the foot and they're like, they're stumbling about, they walk about 6 feet to the left or so before they tumble over, and it's just like, alright, I better pull out my gun and start shooting him back now. It was brilliant. So that was my first area, though. And then the second has got to be Thieves Landing.
Ah, yes.
Is the darker, murky, proper dark and murky. It was I don't know why I like that area. I think it's because me and my brother used to, again, we'd have the Bureau suit on, and the people around there just made the best noises when you killed them. I sound like a psycho when I say that.
I was going to say, I always played the good guy role in Red Dead. I'd never go to these.
I had no honour. Like, my honour meter was at 0. I think if you could go below 0, then that it was definitely like minus a billion, because I just killed everybody. One of my favourite mechanics of the game as well is that you get on a horse and you can lasso people. And you chuck the lasso over someone and they just fall over. You just drag them behind you. It's like, go on, boy, let's go for a walk now. So they're just stumbling all around the place. It's just like they're flying all over the place. You're thinking they're gonna either die or they'll just stump. I think they were able to break free at some point. But I didn't know because I already killed them beforehand anyway. Probably break their necks. But that game was memorable for me for its ragdoll. The ragdoll in that game, absolutely. I don't think any game has done it better. I don't think even GTA 5 can compare to it.
No.
And then my final game for my PS3 was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Again, a game that both me and Matt have played. We never played together though, which is strange, because I know you were a massive fan of the Call of Duty series back in the day or so, and I definitely was, but I don't think we ever really played together. I think it's because I mainly played at the time on Xbox 360 with it, and I did even have it on my PS3, and I started playing it, but I never really got any further than that. Like, I think I got to around level 7. I did get to the max level on that, but I never really touched it after that. And then I just moved over to my Xbox to play it with my other friends, and I think I prestiged a couple times over there. Whereas you stayed on the PS3, and you didn't really have your Xbox 360 to get Modern Warfare 2, etc. So that game was memorable for me because it's going to make me sound like a right noob. And when I say noob, noob tubes. Noob tubes were the proper thing back in those days, you know. And one man army. Yeah, I was one of those guys that I'd get one man army in multiplayer. I would thump me grenade launcher at you. I'd then go into one man army, re-choose that class, get me 2 grenades back, launch them at you again, one man army, and just keep going like that. You know, I was basically a noob, but I did whatever it was for the XP. Because that's a game that I grinded. I did grind that game a lot. Matt, what was your favourite weapon in Modern Warfare 2?
Well, that's the thing. I never really played online on Modern Warfare 2.
Really?
I wasn't a big online player, and I'm still not to this day with Call of Duty games. I very rarely play them alone if I'm playing online. So my main memory of Modern Warfare 2 is the campaign, and
It had a solid campaign.
a very good campaign, especially by a lot of campaign standards. It was very good. See, I mean, the one thing I think of when I think of Modern Warfare 2 is the hype surrounding No Russian.
That was a very controversial
Yes.
mission for the fact that you could actually disable the mission before you even played the game. You said, "Oh, this game contains sensitive and graphic violence. Would you like to censor this or so?" So it didn't really matter if you didn't play it because it didn't really add anything to the story. However, it was very graphic and what you could do.
The one thing it did for the story was it set up a lot of things in the story. If you paid attention to the story, which I know a lot of people didn't do because it's a Call of Duty game. But yeah, that's the one thing I think of when I think of Modern Warfare 2, which is a shame because I know it was a very good game.
But it really brought out the main antagonist side in it, Makarov.
Yeah.
It really brought him out as to what sort of person you're dealing with here. You know, you play through that mission and you're just like, I want him dead.
Yeah.
I want him dead.
Yeah, it builds him up, and especially obviously right at the end. I don't think we need to worry about spoilers for a Modern Warfare 2 campaign.
No.
But at the end, it's obviously revealed that he knows that you are the undercover agent, and he's basically set you up. So he sets up Americans as the ones who've done this terrorist attack, and then it goes from there. But yeah, so all of that builds up Makarov as the antagonist and builds him up a lot, which obviously does lead into Modern Warfare 3, which was a little bit weaker.
That game was weaker in general. I think Modern Warfare, the first one, built up the hype for it. Modern Warfare 2, the most hype, and then Modern Warfare 3 is kind of a downward spiral on that. If you didn't know as well, Modern Warfare 4 has also been leaked and rumoured for next year's release as well, because Infinity Ward, who are the creators of the Modern Warfare series, they ran into quite a couple of development issues actually coming towards the end of Modern Warfare 2 and into Modern Warfare 3. What happened was the two guys that started Infinity Ward had a massive falling out with Activision over rights and payment issues, and so they decided, right, we'll get our money from them and we're going to leave, and that's what they did. They went and set up Respawn Entertainment, who we know made the Titanfall series, and then and now a lot of them actually, except for the two main guys, I think, are coming back to Infinity Ward now for this next Modern Warfare 4 game. Whether we'll see the same sort of story, Task Force 141 come back. I mean, I'm going to spoil it. We've got no soap. There's no soap, but we got Captain Price. I hope he comes back. If this is confirmed, again, this is all rumours.
Yeah.
But if he does if Modern Warfare 4 is the next game, then I'd love to see Captain Price come back because he was my favourite character. So from the campaign, Matt, did you have a favourite character from the campaign?
Well, I mean, it was soap, but
It was soap.
Was soap, but yeah.
He hates dogs, if you didn't know, though. So that might change your opinion on him, Matt.
Still like soap.
Yeah, you're more of a cat man, I can tell that. So I think that's it from the PS3, really. PS3, fantastic system. And you know what? I wish I had like one of the new slim ones because I got actually the old bulky one as well. I got the old 160 gigabyte bulky version. I got that for Christmas. I don't think I screamed at all before then, and I screamed when I got that thing. I opened it as a Christmas present. Me and my brother got it. We screamed. It was good times, good times. So now let's move on to the PS4. Matt, go ahead. Oh no, actually, no, we got one more PS3 game. I'm sorry, we're moving forward way too quickly. Matt, your final PS3 game.
Well, you know what? I'm actually going to add one now. I'm going off script.
He's going
like the maverick that I am. I'll start off with the one I've added because that'll be probably the quickest one to do, which is Mafia 2. So, I didn't have the first Mafia game, but I got the best one, Mafia 2, which is one of my favourite story-based games. So if you haven't played it, basically, you're playing as your main character is basically working his way up through the ranks of the mafia in what's basically New York City during just after the war, so sort of 1940s, and then there is a time skip to the 1950s, which I won't reveal why, because if you haven't played the game, play the game, because it's very good. But yeah, it had a great soundtrack to it, because you had 40s and 50s music just blaring out from your car radio, great driving mechanics, some really, really good characters. So it was like you're playing through a Godfather game, but better, because it's not constricted by obviously the stories they've already put. And yeah, it's just really, really fun. So I'll just say, normally in video games, I will say I play the good guy because I really don't like letting NPCs down. I'm one of those people who can't say bad things to an NPC because I don't like them being disappointed in me.
Yeah, he says that. See, this is where we're the complete opposite. I like killing. I'm not psycho, trust me.
See, we heard that with Red Dead Redemption.
Don't take this podcast out of context, please.
Just sound clip that I like killing people. But yeah, I mean, for me, Mafia 2, which is one of the reasons I was massively disappointed in Mafia 3, was so good for the way it had so much atmosphere in it, and you cared for the characters in a way that you don't get in a lot of video games. So the one thing that story-based games struggle with is making you care for the characters, especially if, like, for example, in a lot of games they'll try and get an emotional beat out of you by killing off a character that you've been with for a long time, but sometimes those characters are just annoying. Like, you'll just be annoyed by those characters, just like, oh, okay, he's dead. I don't care.
Yeah. Is that it on your Mafia 2?
Yeah.
You got a bit more?
Honestly, I'll leave Mafia 2 because I'm talking about my second game, which probably everyone. I'm gonna say everyone's played this game at some point, except for you. 'Cause you're a weirdo.
So I do apologise, Bethesda.
You're a weirdo because you haven't played Skyrim. Everyone has played Skyrim.
I apologise, Bethesda, because it's been remastered on everything.
And it's such a good game. Okay, the reason it's been remastered on everything, because it's a great game. Okay? Yeah. It probably it flips with KOTOR for the second and third spot in my all-time games lists.
I don't think we've mentioned the game yet. You're hyping it up that much.
Yeah, I have mentioned the game.
Listen,
Matt. It's Skyrim, Matt. You listen.
I'm not very good at it.
Pay attention to your co-host.
I'm paying attention. I'm here.
But yeah, Skyrim and KOTOR for me flip between second and third spots on my list, purely because, you know, you talk about RPGs. I suppose Skyrim is an RPG. It's just such a good open world game. It's got basically everything you could want in an open world game. There's so much to do in it that I mean, I know people who still haven't completed the main quest, which one weakness in Skyrim, the main quest is boring. It's very boring. Everyone just does up until the point where you get the shouts, and then you go off and have some fun. You go off and have some fun and fuss road dart stuff off cliffs.
Fuss road dart!
Exactly.
I love that meme.
Yep. And it was fuss road dart is a useless shout in the game. Pro tip, never use it. But super fun to fuss road dart goats off cliffs.
I mean, if we're going to mention a meme here, let's not forget about Arrow to the Knee.
Arrow to the Knee, a great cultural icon that was.
Exactly. But we're not here to talk about the meme here of what Skyrim was made out of. We're here to talk about the greatness of that game and why it's been made so memorable.
I mean, when you have a game, it was obviously a labour of love from the developers because, I mean, when you've got a game that has programmed ants into it to make it seem more realistic, which probably, I'm going to guess about half the people who've played Skyrim haven't noticed the ants that go across the roads. That in just everywhere.
They put so much attention to detail in it.
There is so much detail. And, I mean, the fact that people are still making mods for Skyrim even now shows just how much love that has in the community. And for all the stuff about people saying, oh, they're just remastering it again and again and again. I mean, I'm fine with that because it's a great game.
Are you done on Skyrim? Have you got a bit more? Are you sure?
I'm done with Skyrim because otherwise I'll keep talking for like 3 hours on it.
Exactly. If we talk for 3 hours, I think people would have dropped off by the second hour. So let's keep this moving. We're onto the PS4 then.
Mm-hmm.
The current generation of consoles, we both own it. I've had it since basically it was released, or Christmas of 2015. You've had it a bit after that.
Yeah.
Would you say? I have one game on this one, and that's only for the reason that I don't think PS4 have done amazingly well with games. There's been a lot of exclusives, but there's just not been anything that has really caught my proper eye and made me go, this is a game that will be remembered on this generation. But
so that's where we differ, right? I think there have been quite a few very good games on this generation already.
See, because that's where we differ as two people. You can appreciate some other things. I've got my things that I appreciate. You know, I still like the yearly Call of Duties, whereas you're just like, I'll pick them up when I want to and stuff like that. Like you picked up World War II because it returned to boots on the ground, whereas I picked it up because I yearly buy it because I'm very invested in the Call of Duty universe. However, the game that I will remember for the PS4 is a game that was originally released on the PS3, but it did get a remaster onto the PS4, and that's The Last of Us. I've talked about this before on our podcast. If not, go listen to our other podcast. We've got released 3 episodes before this, so go listen to them all. And The Last of Us, I've recently again played it, and I just loved it. The character Joel and his relationship with Ellie from the beginning to the end is absolutely fantastic. Matt, again, you haven't played it, but you've watched people play it.
Yeah,
you know the
story.
story. You know the story. What is your thoughts on The Last of Us?
I mean, yeah, The Last of Us, and I say similar to Mafia 2, the one thing that it absolutely excels in is making you care about the characters. I think part of that is some amazing voice acting, and I'm pretty sure they did mocap for it for The Last of Us, didn't they? And
yes.
Yeah, so the acting in that was fantastic, all round, and yeah. So as a story, so I mean that first mission, which won't spoil, the conclusion to the first mission that you do is astounding, and that kind of sets it up throughout the game, and it's a very unique game because although it is a zombie game, which has been done to death, those aren't what you're looking at in the game. It
feels unique. It feels better than The Walking Dead, which is essentially what it's. Well, it's a lot more detail to it because Telltale released the Walking Dead series of games. Again, a bit more like a comics series games and that, and it has its own story in that. But you get to play for it properly, whereas us kind of like, oh, you choose this line of dialogue and stuff like that. You don't really play the game; you just kind of like go through, clicking through.
I mean, it's a point and click, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that game is done well. But this game, like, they both have their positives, But it's definitely for me, The Last of Us is the most, I would say, unique to it because it has its own proper good story to it when you play through it. You'll understand. You said about the conclusion of the first mission. You'll then get to understand why Joel is that way towards Ellie to start off with, and then why their relationship builds towards the end and gets, the giraffes. Giraffes. That's all we'll say, man.
I mean, it's somehow become a zombie game where zombies are not the focus of the game.
Exactly. It's more about the relationships between people.
Yeah.
And Naughty Dog have captured that excellently. And now I cannot wait to see what they do for The Last of Us Part 2. Matt, you watched I think you watched the PlayStation E3 conference, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I stayed up to watch that 2 a.m. You know, I was grinding it out again. I wrote a lot, sort of like a live blog for my website. So if you want to go check that out, it's definitely up there. Go see what was announced. I put a lot of detail as much as I could into that, because that was the press conference I was most looking forward to, and especially seeing The Last of Us Part 2, where we get to see an older Ellie now.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a bit more matured now and starting to develop other relationships with other people. So I hope we get that sort of thing again.
Yeah.
So I also hope that The Last of Us Part 2 will be either equally or better than the first game. That's definitely what we all want.
I mean, everything's looking good for it, so...
Are you picking it up, Matt? Are you getting it?
I'll wait, because there are a lot of games coming out, so I'm going to just go ahead and say I'll wait, check the reviews, maybe next year.
Yeah, our pre-order lists are absolutely mental, I think. There are so many good games coming out towards the end of the latter half of this year that it's going to be hard to keep up, and my wallet just doesn't... It's just going to hurt after this. You know, I'm going to have to admit it to hospital, I think. You know. And then we've got one more game here, Matt, and it's yours on the PS4. It's our final game that we'll discuss, and then we'll conclude this podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was considering putting the new God of War on this, seeing as I've just finished playing it, and it is amazing. But the one game I think that is going to stick with me for a long time is Horizon Zero Dawn. For me, it's the first game since Skyrim. It's the first game for me which has done open world perfectly. It really has. I mean, I picked up the game pretty late last year, so I wasn't one of the first to play the game. I wasn't really expecting a good story. What I was expecting was robot dinosaurs. That's what I was thinking.
I think that's what a lot of people were thinking.
I was just like, hey, it's got robot dinosaurs. That's cool. I'll go do that. And then I got into it and I was like, wow, this is really good. Like, it's got amazing combat. I mean, the combat does devolve into some very Dark Souls-esque roll, shoot. But you know what? It's robot dinosaurs you're fighting, so I'll forgive it that. You've got potentially the most unique scenario and the most unique story of any video game in recent memory for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so for those who haven't played it, first of all, play it. Second of all, you get put into the playable character that you play as is called Aloy, and you start off as an outcast from this tribe. You're shunned from this tribe, and you're brought up by this man named Rost, who is not your father, incidentally. He just brought you up as an outcast, and basically you start off your journey trying to find out who you are, who your mother is, who your father is, and that takes you across this massive open world, meeting all these very interesting characters. Even the side characters that you meet for like once or twice are really compelling, really well written, and it does really well in terms of it gives you a sense of a wider story without necessarily telling you everything about the story, without telling you everything about the interactions between the different factions. You can tell, who's allied with who, but maybe you don't know why. And so it's really intriguing, and I really hope they do another one.
Have they set it up for a sequel?
There is. I'm trying not to say anything, but there's potential for a sequel.
I gave you a difficult question to end that bit.
There is potential for a sequel. How there will be a sequel, I will not say.
Horizon One Dawn.
Hey. I will say the name has significance later in the game.
Okay.
I didn't know that. It's not just a random name.
I was going to say, because I haven't played the game myself, it was a game I thought about picking up, however, it was just down to funds and I would say my own lack of interest in it. I think it needed to be a bit more than what I saw from last year's E3.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, if you've bought Skyrim and if you've enjoyed Skyrim, you will love Horizon Zero Dawn. You will adore it. Even if you didn't enjoy Skyrim, I'd say try it, because it's a game that, I mean, it's the only game that I've got. I think I got every trophy bar 2, and the only trophy I didn't get was I think read all of the journals across the world, and there are thousands of them.
Oh my goodness. Do you have any platinum trophies?
No.
No?
I tend not to platinum games purely because I don't play a lot of solely multiplayer focused games, and for single player games I'll play through them once, maybe twice. So I won't go through a sort of trophy hunt.
So, but you were telling me that you were kind of considering Detroit becoming human.
I was considering that.
Are you still considering it?
I am still considering it. Again, it comes down to funds and time for me.
Because you can't, if you play through that game once, there are so many different possible outcomes, aren't there? Which means it does give it replayability, but it's a single player game. Would you want to go through that and putting yourself through it because you know the story?
Yeah, that, as I say, that's I don't consider that for me. That isn't great replayability, because for me, a replayable game is a game that you actively want to go through for the story or for something else, whether that be for story campaign or gameplay. For me, if I'm going through and doing those branching skill trees, that's purely for to get the platinum trophy, which doesn't really appeal to me. Like, I don't desperately want a platinum trophy to the point where I'm going to do the exact same things over and over again.
Oh no, I get you. I mean, I have a few platinums. I have 7 in total. Humble brag. But I don't necessarily go out hunting for trophies. It's like if I'm close to finishing a game and I nearly have all the trophies, I do go back and do them, because it's like I kind of a little bit OCD like that. It's just like I need to go back and complete this so I have all the trophies. But I'll usually just play for a game once, and then I'll just kind of leave it, and might come back to it again at some point. I think at the moment I went back through and played the whole of the Crash Bandicoot. I went through it twice on the Insane Trilogy. 1, just to complete the game again, and 2, though, because I wanted to platinum it, because I knew it was a very hard platinum trophy to get. So I went through that, and I tell you what, the DLC map they added, the Stormy Ascent, I don't think I've ever been so broken by a level in a game before. Oh, that and the High Road. I don't know if you know of those two.
I know of those two, because I know people who've played them and who, yeah.
I went a bit criminally insane after completing them, and it's time I'm not going to get back again. But it was worth it. I have my platinums. I'm battered and bruised from having it, and I think that's where we're going to end the games portion here. But we're just going to have one concluding point here, Matt. We've talked about games a lot today, but really it's all about the console as well that we play on as well. So, what was your favourite console?
Favourite console? PS3.
PS3.
PS3 for me. There were a lot of games that I didn't mention on here, but that it was just that I experienced so many good games on that console that I'm going to have abiding memories of that for a long time.
For myself, it's the PlayStation 2. I will solely remember that console for the amount of games that were on that console. Yes, not a lot of them were good, but there were definitely some great games on that console. But I remember owning so many. I had basically a cabinet full of PlayStation 2 games, and you just don't get that anymore. There was so much variety. With you weren't paying at the time £60 for a game, and then you have DLC added onto that. For a PS2, I remember paying at maximum about £40, and you get the whole game. You get everything you want. All of them were single player, mind you, because the internet technology wasn't there at the time to play a great deal of online games. But with Star Wars Battlefront 2, there was that possibility. But I mainly I love the single player elements of it, and that's what have been for a majority of my life, and that's now why. And well, I do love the single player, but I do now really appreciate the multiplayers that these games do have. Right, Matt, I think that's going to do it. We've actually just gone over an hour here talking about... It's been a very nostalgic episode.
Yes.
I think I'm going to go out and pull out my old PS3 and see what games I still have for that thing. I'd like to thank everybody for listening today. Just a reminder, no podcast for the next couple of weeks while me and Matthew are away on holiday. But you can listen to our other 3 podcasts that we've done. They're in the playlist. So just listen to them back to back to back. I guess you could do.
Or you can just go back and play all the games we mentioned.
Yeah, you could do. I mean, exactly. Go dig out. If you have an old system, definitely dig it out and see what games you can find for it. Because some of the games that we may have mentioned, like especially on the PS2, some of them aren't going to be that expensive nowadays. I think you could probably go to a car boot sale and pick a couple up for 50 pence. But that is going to do it all for us. Thank you very much for watching. But don't forget to like and subscribe. And I ask it every week. If you do have any questions for me and Matthew, we will answer them in the next podcast, which will be in a couple of weeks or a few weeks' time. Leave them down in the comments or on my website, harrysgamevault.wordpress.com. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Thank you. Goodbye.